Welcome to the Kitsap Publishing Deep Dive podcast with myself, Jack Bennett, and Emily Waters. Join us as we explore books, current events, history, politics, health, and more. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's dive in. There's this fundamental conflict, isn't there? We all generally believe we're pretty good listeners.
Right. We think, yeah, I listen.
But the data, the actual research, it tells a completely different story. We looked at some classic studies for this deep dive, and one finding just jumps out.
The 25% figure.
Exactly. The average person apparently only remembers a quarter of what they hear shortly after a conversation. A quarter.
Which means we're missing,
Yeah.
well, 3/4 of it. It's a massive gap.
We're calling it the 25% problem. And it seems like almost everyone has it.
It really is a stunning disconnect. Systemic, you could say.
Mm.
And honestly, that failure rate, that's exactly why we're spending this deep dive on, well, the art of listening.
Sounds almost like a lost art.
It can feel that way. We've pulled together insights from Ingemar Anderson's new book, which is very practical, but also with deeper dives into psychology, social theory, think from Brownell, even Bourdieu.
So we're looking at the why. Why do we fail so often?
And crucially, how we can get better, how you can build the skills.
Right. So our mission for you today, listening in, is pretty straightforward, but I think potentially transformative. We need to get why we're so bad at something we spend, almost half our communication time doing.
The research suggests up to 45%. Yeah, it's huge.
And we want to show you that getting good at this, really mastering listening, isn't just a nice to have, it's like a shortcut.
A shortcut to better relationships, definitely, and career growth, too. It's the hidden leverage point.
It reminds me of that Simon Sinek quote.
Oh, the one about communication.
Yeah. Communication is not about speaking, it's about listening. Simple, but profound when you really think about it.
Absolutely. And we want to unpack the mechanics behind why that's so true.
Okay, let's tackle this listening gap head on. The 25% retention is bad enough.
It's pretty sobering, yeah.
But then you layer on the self-perception part. You mentioned studies showing, 96%?
96% of people rate themselves as good or even very good listeners.
Yeah.
Despite the 25% reality.
That's a serious confidence illusion.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's the first hurdle we need you to get past. It's a classic cognitive bias, We overestimate our skills in areas that feel intuitive.
Like walking or just hearing.
Exactly. Because a physical act of hearing sound waves is passive, we assume the whole listening process is easy, but it's not.
So confident in theory.
But if we're honest with ourselves, most of us are incredibly distracted listeners in practice. Our minds are elsewhere.
And this isn't just, awkward silences or slightly hurt feelings. The consequences are real, sometimes devastatingly so.
Absolutely. The stakes are incredibly high. This moves listening way beyond soft skills. We're talking real-world costs.
Like in healthcare?
Precisely. We found research linking communication failures often rooted in poor listening to about 30% of malpractice claims.
30%? That's huge.
It is. And tragically, these failures contributed to nearly 2,000 deaths in the study period and billions, with a B, in costs. So listening, or failing to listen, can literally be life or death.
That really throws that 25% problem into sharp focus. And if you shift that lens to the workplace...
Same story, different context, equally staggering numbers. Global employee engagement recently dipped to just 21%.
21% engaged. Wow.
And a huge part of that disengagement comes down to people not feeling heard, feeling ignored, dismissed.
And that hits the bottom line.
Massively. McKinsey estimated that the productivity loss linked to this kind of disengagement could be costing the global economy something like $8.8 trillion. Trillion.
So not listening is literally making businesses poorer.
And less effective, less innovative, definitely.
Okay, so if it's clear that listening is way more complex than just, sound hitting eardrums, what is the actual process? What are we supposed to be doing?
We really have to move past that simple hearing, listening idea. Judy Brownell's HURIER model is fantastic for this.
HURIER, that's an acronym.
Yes, HURIER. It breaks listening down into 6 distinct steps. It shows it's an active, not passive process.
6 steps. Okay, I'm bracing myself. Sounds like work.
It is work. That's the point. It starts with hearing, the physical act. But then comes understanding the message.
Right, which isn't guaranteed just because you heard the words.
Not at all. Then remembering it, storing the information, then interpreting, understanding the context, the tone, the nonverbals,
Okay. Interpreting.
then evaluating, thinking critically about the message, weighing it, and finally, responding appropriately based on all the previous steps.
And where do most of us jump off that train?
Often, right after hearing, we hear something and we immediately jump to responding. We skip understanding, remembering, interpreting, evaluating.
We skip the whole middle bit.
Exactly. And the whole system collapses. We formulate our reply while the other person is still talking.
Which makes total sense now. We confuse hearing with understanding. We think nodding means we get it.
Or we mistake agreement for empathy. They're very different things.
So why? Why do smart people, people who genuinely care about others, still fall into this trap constantly?
Well, there are a few barriers. But one of the biggest, maybe the biggest internal barrier is the ego barrier, or what psychologists call egocentric bias.
Meaning, everything comes back to me.
Pretty much. We are deeply wired to relate everything back to ourselves. Our experiences, our feelings, our opinions. The source material, drawing on folks like Freud and Fromm, really highlights this relentless pull to shift the focus.
And that's where the idea of narcissistic listening fits in.
Perfectly. It's listening, but filtering everything through your own needs and perspective. Whatever the other person says becomes just a prompt for your story.
A springboard.
Exactly. A springboard for your own anecdote, your own stress, your own unsolicited advice. Fromm warned about this self-centeredness being the great obstacle to connection.
We included that story about Anna and David from the sources, which illustrates this so well.
Oh yeah, the classic example. Anna tries to share something important,
Like a big win at work or a worry she has.
and David immediately jumps in. Not maliciously, perhaps, but reflexively.
She says, I closed the biggest deal. And he goes,
Oh, that reminds me of when my team built that app. Or, yeah, work's crazy, I had to. He just can't stay with her experience. He uses it as a segue back to himself.
and the effect on Anna, or anyone in that situation, is feeling, well, not heard, maybe even feeling used.
Used as a prompt.
Yeah.
Like their experience wasn't valuable in itself, only as a trigger for the listener's story.
Okay, so we have the ego barrier inside us, but then there's the modern world.
Oh, yes. The digital barrier. It's huge. Linda Stone coined that term, continuous partial attention, way back in '98, and it's only gotten worse.
That constant state of scanning, never fully focusing.
Right. Attending to multiple things at once, but none of them well. And we know this shreds connection.
There's actual research on this, isn't there? Even just a phone sitting there.
The mere presence. A smartphone on the table, even face down, even silent, has been shown to reduce the perceived closeness between people and the overall quality of the conversation.
Wow, it doesn't even have to buzz.
Nope. Because its presence signals that the listener's attention is fragile. It could be withdrawn at any second for a notification. That constant, low-level threat erodes trust over time. Silently.
That erosion of trust. It connects really nicely to this other concept from the source material that I found fascinating. Thinking of listening as a kind of social trust economy.
It's a powerful metaphor, inspired partly by Francis Fukuyama's work on trust in societies. If trust is the currency of strong societies.
Well, maybe it's the currency of strong relationships, too.
Exactly. And in this social trust economy, every interaction involving listening is either a deposit or a withdrawal from that shared account.
Okay, explain that. What counts as a deposit?
A deposit is any act of attentive listening, leaning in slightly, asking a relevant follow-up question that shows you actually heard and processed what they just said, putting your phone completely away, nodding encouragingly. These things build up the balance of mutual respect and trust.
Makes sense. And a withdrawal.
A withdrawal is, well, the opposite. Interrupting constantly, glancing at your phone or watch, changing the subject abruptly back to yourself, offering platitudes instead of empathy, ignoring their bids for connection.
And too many withdrawals.
Leads to bankruptcy. The relationship fails. Sometimes it looks sudden, but it's often the result of years of accumulated listening debt. The trust account is overdrawn.
That idea of listening debt, wow, it explains those relationships that seem fine and then suddenly implode. The foundation was just gone.
Hollowed out by neglect and distraction, precisely. And this economy, this trust trading, it starts the second you enter the interaction, even before words.
Right, because listening isn't just about the words.
Not at all. Albert Morabian's work, while sometimes oversimplified, pointed to a crucial truth. A huge chunk of meaning comes from nonverbal cues. Tone of voice, posture, facial expressions, paralinguistics.
So real listening starts with actually seeing the other person, as Goleman might say, noticing them.
It's about showing up, making that active commitment, leaning forward, maybe mirroring their posture slightly, maintaining comfortable eye contact, pausing what you were doing. These are powerful nonverbal signals.
What signal did they send?
They send the message, you matter. What you're saying is important enough for me to give you my most valuable resource, my undivided attention. That's a huge deposit right there.
Okay, this is great groundwork. We've got the barriers, the costs, the basic process, this trust economy idea. Let's shift to the more advanced stuff. Beyond just being quiet and nodding, empathic listening.
This is where it gets really powerful. Empathic listening isn't just hearing the words or even understanding the facts. It's about tuning into the feelings behind the words.
During the emotion.
Yes, the underlying needs, the hopes, the fears, the emotional music playing underneath the lyrics. It requires what researchers like Simon Baron-Cohen call theory of mind, the ability to genuinely step into someone else's perspective.
To see the world for a moment through their eyes.
Exactly. You temporarily suspend your own viewpoint, your own judgment, your own need to reply, and focus entirely on understanding their internal world.
And this skill must be absolutely vital when things get tense. In conflicts.
Oh, critical. Whether it's a negotiation table or a kitchen table argument. Empathic listening is the key to de-escalation and resolution.
How so?
Because you stop reacting just to their position, their stated demand, like, I need a bigger budget, or you always leave the dishes.
Right, the surface complaint.
And you start listening for their underlying interest or need. What's the fear behind the budget demand? What's the feeling of disrespect behind the complaint about the dishes? Fisher and Urey really hammered this in their work on negotiation Listen for the Why.
Can we bring back Anna, maybe her and her partner Mark, using this?
Perfect example.
Yeah.
In the source material, when they started practicing this, their arguments changed. Instead of immediate defense, I did not leave the dishes,
Yeah.
they learned to slow down. And one technique was to try and reflect back the feeling they heard. So Mark might say, okay, I hear that when I didn't call, you felt abandoned and maybe unimportant.
Just naming the feeling.
Yes. And Anna might do the same. So when I criticized your driving, you felt attacked and maybe disrespected. That act of trying to understand and name the feeling, even if you don't agree with the cause, is incredibly validating. It shifts the whole dynamic.
It moves it from a fight to maybe a shared problem.
Exactly. From adversarial to collaborative. You're tackling the misunderstanding together, not attacking each other.
So if you can manage conflict better, build trust more effectively, this listening skill isn't just interpersonal fluff. It's actually a strategic advantage.
Absolutely. This ties into Pierre Bourdieu's concept of social capital. Attentive, empathic listening builds high-quality relationships and strong networks.
And those networks, that trust, they're valuable.
Immensely valuable. They are resources, just like financial capital or intellectual capital. People trust, confide in, and want to collaborate with those who make them feel genuinely seen and heard. The master listener builds incredible loyalty and influence, often quietly.
It gives them a competitive edge.
A significant one in leadership, in sales, in teamwork, in any field that involves people.
It's fascinating how this feels like cutting-edge social science, but it's also ancient wisdom. The sources pointed this out.
Right. That advice from the Epistle of James is thousands of years old, but nails it perfectly for today.
Remind us.
Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. It connects the dots. Listen first. Pause before reacting. Control the anger. It's a sequence.
Listening is an emotional regulation tool.
In a way, yes. It forces that pause, that moment of consideration before the defensive, often angry reaction kicks in.
Okay, so we accept it's crucial, it's learnable. How does someone listening right now actually start climbing that ladder? Moving from, say, the distracted interrupter.
Level 1 non-listener.
All right, up towards level 10, the master listener. Is there a framework?
There is. We can think of it as a listening skill scale. It maps out the progression. Level 1 is that egocentric, constantly interrupting person. Then you move up through levels of better attention, less interruption.
Where's the real shift, the turning point?
I think the crucial pivot happens around level 6. We could call this the curious listener.
Curious.
Yes, because at this level, the primary focus shifts. It moves from internal monologue, what am I going to say next, how does this relate to me, to genuine external curiosity. What do they really mean? Tell me more. Why do they feel that way?
So asking questions becomes key.
Genuine, open-ended questions. Questions designed purely to understand better, not to trap them or lead them or show off your own knowledge. That's when ego starts to take a backseat to empathy.
And getting there, getting good at this, isn't just about understanding the levels intellectually. It needs practice.
Daily practice. Like any skill, any discipline, you wouldn't expect to get physically fit by reading a book about exercise. Listening requires deliberate, consistent effort.
So what does that look like?
Practically.
The daily listening practice plan in the source material had some great, simple starting points. 3 things you can do starting today.
Okay, give them to us.
First, set a daily intention. Consciously choose one person, your partner, a colleague, your child, that you will make an extra effort to listen fully to today. Just one.
Focus the effort. Makes sense.
Second, practice the 1-minute pause. This sounds simple, but it's hard. After the other person finishes speaking, wait. Wait a full count. Maybe not 60 seconds initially, but longer than usual before you even start formulating your reply. Let their words land.
Ooh, that silence might feel awkward at first.
It might. But it's crucial to break that instant reply reflex, that shift focus reflex we talked about. It ensures you're processing, not just reacting.
Okay, intention, cause.
Okay.
What's the third? Evening reflection. Take just 5 minutes at the end of the day. Maybe journal. Maybe just think. How did my listening go today? When did I succeed? When did I slip back into old habits, like interrupting or zoning out? Who did I really connect with?
So awareness and accountability.
Exactly. It's about building that listening muscle. It needs regular workouts. You have to cultivate it, like from said about love. It's a practice.
This has been, well, a really comprehensive deep dive. We started with that shocking 25% statistic, the huge costs of poor listening,
The ego, the digital distractions.
the Hurrier model, the trust economy, all the way to concrete daily practices.
It's a journey for sure.
But the takeaway seems clear. If you commit to becoming a better listener, you fundamentally change your interactions. Conversations shift from potential conflicts to potential connections.
From battles to bridges, absolutely. You build stronger trust, deeper intimacy, more influence.
And the good news, maybe, is that because so many people are stuck at those lower levels of listening,
Any conscious effort you make really stands out. You gain that competitive edge, that social advantage, almost immediately, just by choosing to truly pay attention.
So, as we wrap up, what's the final thought? The provocation for everyone listening.
Well, we touched on listening being an ethical act, right? An affirmation of the other person's humanity. The flip side is that the cost of not listening over time is profound. It leads to that emotional withdrawal, alienation, the breakdown of connection we value most.
So the challenge is,
The challenge is personal and immediate. Take everything we've discussed today. Find one person you're close to, someone whose opinion you value, and ask them, honestly.
ask them all.
Ask them, do you feel that I truly listened to you? Be prepared for the answer. That answer, however it lands, is your real starting point. It's your personal scorecard on this path to mastery.
Thank you for listening to the Kitsap Publishing Deep Dive podcast. Emily Waters and I will see you in the next episode. Stay tuned.